Hello, and welcome to another IGN Give This a 7, but is it really though? With me, Sky Fellowship, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Gauntlet Slayer Edition, but on a technicality, the game is actually called Gauntlet TM, because when you launch it from Steam or anything, the actual banner says Gauntlet TM. The Slayer Edition launches when you boot the game, but I think technically this game's called Gauntlet TM, which obviously the TM stands for trademark, but it's just weird when people put that in as part of the actual title. So, Gauntlet, I'm gonna, as much as this is an IGN Give It a 7, I am definitely gonna have to do some actual story time with this because Gauntlet is very important to me as a franchise, and I want to start with why it's important to me. So, I'm not gonna trauma dump or anything. I don't know how I'd eventually get these stories into videos because the whole point is I mention trauma scenarios and things that games that got me through them and that, and this specific thing is basically I was forced into doing pantomime as a child and I hated it, and it was just one of those marvelous things that I was doing it for years in front of schoolmates and everything. Like, it made bullying so much worse when you're having to dress in a dress on stage, and just it was fun to say the least, and obviously that's severe sarcasm in case you can't tell. So that's the little part that I need to get around to then explain how I got into Gauntlet. Basically, I was around my godmothers and godfathers because my godparents used to do a lot of stuff for the pantomime. My godmother wrote some of the scripts, designed some of the sets. I used to actually paint some of the stuff with her. That was the only parts of the panto I actually enjoyed, was doing the painting, because I always liked the artsy, crafty, creative side of things. And at least where we used to do them was haunted, like severely haunted. I've got so many ghost stories, it's unbelievable. Maybe for Halloween I'll end up doing a ghost story special or something, I don't know. But either way, I was round theirs, and it was a day when they were working on the script, so I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to contribute because I was a child at the time, obviously. So I'm basically bored shitless, and my godfather is like, listen, I've got some work to do. Come into the office with us. I've got a new game. I understand you're going to be bored because I've got maybe an hour's worth of work to actually do here. But as soon as we're done, as soon as I'm done, we'll play something called Gauntlet. And I think specifically it was Gauntlet 2. I don't think I'd played Gauntlet 1 that time. I think Gauntlet 2 was the one that he'd just got for his PC. Which, as much as I'd grew up with things like the Amiga system from, I think it was an Amiga Commodore was officially what it was called, an Amiga 500. I grew up knowing mouse and keyboard could work on games and stuff like that, but in my mind, and I guess technically it still is, Amigas are not PCs. They were computers, but they're not like what you would consider a PC with an actual proper operating system and stuff like that. So especially with an Amiga, you used to still use what was known as a zip stick, which was like a tiny little controller that had a little stick on it with a single button, and that was it. So I was immediately hooked on as soon as he said new game. That's all it took for me as a child. Just like, if someone had a game, I didn't care if it was new, I didn't care if it was old. To be honest, as soon as he said, let's play a game, I heard the word game, and it was like, yep, I don't care. So I went into his office. I think he used to be an accountant, I'm not sure. All I can remember is he was doing a fuck ton of stuff with numbers and that. And I sat there, and I was talking to him a little bit, and he said, actually, it turns out I've got way less work than I thought. I'm only going to be done in 20 minutes. So I was like, okay, excellent. This means more time to play games. And he put Gauntlet on. And I immediately picked the elf. The elf is always going to be my favourite character in Gauntlet. Always has been, always will be. Every single version of Gauntlet, I always pick the elf. They just are my main character. It doesn't matter what changes they do to the elf is still the elf. They have a bow and arrow. They are absolutely fucking amazing. I love them. Weak as shit, very weak, and takes 1 to 2 hits and dies kind of weak. It's the character you definitely have to play a bit strategically, to say the least. You can't just tank damage like a warrior or a Valkyrie. But to be honest, you're probably still more resilient than the wizard. And basically we started to play it, and I absolutely got hooked. I loved it. We sat and we played it for a couple hours, and yeah, I was instantly a fan. Ever since then, I went through a lot of the Gauntlet games. I didn't get the one that, I want to say one came out on the original Xbox, and it was more of a hack and slash third person affair, as opposed to this like isometric or top down or like wave based shooter essentially. So I played a bunch of them. I played one on the N64, which I really liked, which then got a port on the Dreamcast, and I think that was called Gauntlet Legends. And then Gauntlet Legends got a port again to the GameCube, called Gauntlet Dark Legacy, I want to say it was called. Because it was the same game, but they changed the name, and it's because they added a shit ton of content. They basically doubled the amount of characters, if memory serves. They might have even more than doubled it. They added so many more stages, bosses, I think they even added items, that it was such a huge glow up for the game. It is still, to this day, my favourite Gauntlet game. It is the game that I really, really wish they would do a HD remaster of. I know fine well that'll never happen because of the licenses and rights and everything, but I would love a HD remaster with online co-op. If not that, at least bring it to the Nintendo Switch Online, because that will still kind of give it some pseudo online co-op, and it will give it some HD cleanup, I guess. But for now, the only way you can kind of really play it is either obviously through emulation or through the original hardware. And I strongly recommend it if you ever get the chance to, because it's amazing. But we now finally come to this game, Gauntlet Slayers Edition. And I've told you all of that to say, firstly, there is one little thing I wanted to touch on and say. Unfortunately, the godfather who got me into this, he passed away with COVID, sadly, when the pandemic basically first started, and he was actually in hospital with a family member, and that family member didn't get COVID, but people visiting the family member got it, so we all got the same variant as my godfather, and it sucked. It really sucked, and it also meant that none of us obviously could go to his funeral or anything. It really, really, really fucking sucks, because I miss my godparents. They were amazing people, they really were. They were some of the only people who were actually nice to me growing up. So yeah, really, really do miss them, because I think she passed away about a year ago now as well, at the time of recording. It's yeah, it sucks. But anyway, I did want to get that out, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to mention the guy and going to say that I only got into this franchise because of him, I kind of wanted to mention all of it as like a tribute, I guess, because he's a very important person to me. He really did. He's one of the people who got me so heavily invested into different types of games, because all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, you can play games on another thing, and oh my god, and there's this genre, and we played other stuff as well. Like, that day was just Gauntlet, but we played other stuff for years, so I always really, really, really liked having him in my life, and it sucks that he's gone. So anyway, finally to the point of actually talking about this game. As you can probably tell, Gauntlet is super fucking important to me, so it means that my standards tend to be a little high. When Gauntlet Slayers Edition came out, I really, really enjoyed it up until I rolled credits, and then I was like, really? Like, that's it? That's the entire game? This is one of those that it really is. It's not here for a long time, but it is here for a good time. I still enjoy playing the game. I actually ran a bunch of friends through the game a couple of years ago. When I still had a social circle, I was able to get them into Gauntlet and say, listen, like, have you ever heard of this? Like, I severely doubt you will, because your ages, you probably would. And they got really hooked into it. They were playing it a ton. And that's good, because it's the most I've ever managed to unlock in this game. Because this is the downside as well. As much as I'm saying it's a short game, that's technically not true. Because the game's length is bolstered by the sheer amount, and I'm going to actually exit so I can kind of show some of this off. You have so many things to unlock for the characters, so as you can see, I've got all of the bows unlocked for the elf. I don't have all of the talismans. That one is 100 grand, and I've only got 50 grand just shy of. That's 9 grand, 500, that's 15, that's it. Like, you probably might be starting to see, but even better is the fact that I've already bought. But then to upgrade it is another 13.5. Everything has 3 levels, so you have to upgrade all of that. There's then armor. These are purely just cosmetic. There's then all of these capes, and you unlock the capes via going into the Colosseum. And the Colosseum is something that changes daily, and you have to beat the Colosseum with all 5 of the characters to unlock all of their things. If I beat this as the elf, I only get the elves. The game is such a colossal grind, it's unbelievable. And it's so annoying because I kind of do see why IGN gives this a 7. This is an important game to me. I have bias. I still think it's a really good game. I'm always going to rate it highly for me personally. But it's got 3 boss battles, which aren't exactly that great. And the final boss is honestly one of the most generic slogs you'll play in any game, let alone a Gauntlet game. It's got a handful of levels. Actually, to be honest, I can't even remember how many levels it's got, so I'm going to quickly go to the map here. All of these grey ones are kind of like side mission-y level type things. All of the gold ones are missions, and the giant skulls are obviously the bosses. And yeah, it may look like it's got a lot of missions, but when you're talking, a mission can at most take you, I think the longest one is maybe 8 minutes, and most of them are a lot shorter. Yeah, it really isn't the longest game. And it's a shame that they made it so grindy, because if you'd cut the grind by 75%, and that may seem drastic, but you've just seen how much money that is. I've played a ton of this. At best, I think there's a mission that I was able to farm that was getting me approximately 7.5 grand every time I did it, and the mission would take maybe 2 minutes. That's a fuck ton of times playing that mission, just to be able to unlock all of this stuff for all of the characters, let alone one character. Well, I should have said one character, let alone all of the characters. So to be honest, probably reduce the grind by 90%. I would have been closer to unlocking everything by now, and I would have actually been a lot more praiseworthy of it. There's not enough content for the amount of grind that there is in the game, and it definitely hurts it. But this is a game that when I bought it, I think it was like £12 when it came out. And then the Necromancer DLC, which just adds a character, was about £4. I still think out of my 16, even if it was 20, I'll say 20 is just in case. Even if it was 20, I still got £20 worth of enjoyment out of it, by far. And now, on the likes of Humble, you can usually get in, like, Humble Seals, a Slayer's pack, which comes with 4 copies of the game, and it's like £4, maybe £3.50. So you're talking less than £1 for a copy of the game. It's way worth £1. So this is when I get into that awkward scenario of, is my bias telling me that I think it's way above a 7 because I'm like a sicko, I'm obsessed with Gauntlet, or is it just that no, this is genuinely still a really good game? And that's where I'm going to land on, and I'm going to trust my gut and say, yeah, I do think if you've got a friend group who can play this, like, even if you don't, you'll still probably enjoy it solo, but Gauntlet's always been about playing with friends. It always has been, always will be. If you've got a friend group that can play it, you can pick it up stupidly cheap. It runs really well. It runs on a potato these days, let's be real, PC-wise. It runs on a fucking potato. It's not exactly intense running game. Even with the amount of ads on screen at one time, it never, ever started to chug back on the PS3, let alone on modern-day PCs. I definitely think you should give it a try. So I'm going to say it. I kind of do understand what IGN were thinking, giving it a 7. But still, personally, I'm going to say, what were you thinking, IGN? This is better than a 7. Even if you're not a sicko like me, I think the lowest you could give the game is an 8. And I'd probably go just above an 8, to be honest. Especially when comparing certain Gauntlet games, because I still like the originals, the first one and the second one, but they're very basic. This is a lot more advanced and a lot more fun and a lot more playable and has aged a lot better. This is, I think, at this point, 16 years old. And it's still very modernized and fun, whereas playing the, like, probably 40 years old Gauntlet by now, it's a little rough to play it. You really have to be a Gauntlet sicko to enjoy it. And Dark Legacy is, again, It's just practically perfect as a Gauntlet game. It really is. I really wish someone would fucking do something with that goddamn game. I know I'm never going to get a sequel, but again, at least if I could just get a HD remaster with online, that's all I need. So yeah, until the next time, this has been Sky Fellowship, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, check out Gauntlet. It's still a really fun game and a good time. Bye.